Those were our sounds of the day presented by Hyundai, as these two young fellas are going to be coming up to the Yankees in Houston. Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells. Flash, the excitement has to be palpable, especially for the fan base.
Yeah, the fan base, this is the next chapter, right? You're going to see the young kids get called up. The organization is going to be paying attention to how they handle themselves, not only on the field, but to how they handle themselves as major league players. But with all of that being said, this month is going to be about development. The coaching staff is going to have to work with these young guys, make sure they tighten up things that they need to work on. But there's energy that is going to be brought into the clubhouse. Now, some of the older players will be able to help the young players transition to be major leaguers. So there's a lot to look forward to here during the month of September and see how these kids perform.
Yeah, and Aaron Boone said in the pregame that these kids are going to play, so you're going to want to tune into Yes tomorrow as the Yankees take on the Astros. Let's take a look at, they're on Prime tomorrow, excuse me, as Carlos Rodon will get the ball, then Luis Severino will take it on Saturday, and Michael King gets it on Sunday. Flash, what are you looking forward to most with this Houston Astros series?
Well, first of all, Houston's playing really good baseball right now, coming down the stretch. Justin Verlander tomorrow night. Obviously, that's going to be fun watching him pitch against some of these young guys. We'll see if Dominguez and Wells are in the lineup tomorrow night. You would expect them to be in there. But I'm going to look at Carlos Rodon, and building off his last outing, the stretch here the month of September.
All right, we'll see if that happens as the Yankees start that series in Houston against the Astros tomorrow on Prime. Saturday is on Yes, and then Sunday night, of course, is on ESPN. That's going to do it for us here on the W.B. Mason postgame show. For John Flaherty and the rest of our Yes Network team, I'm Chris Sheeran. Have a great night, everybody.
This summer, happiness is a new Chevy. You can go farther, tow more, and bring along everyone you love. Your road to happiness begins in a new Chevy. Or current qualified lessees can get this Equinox for around $239 a month. Or get 1.9% financing on all 2023 Equinox models when you purchase.
What's this?
It's an amuse-bouche with pureed nut spread and muddled berries.
I hate that I love this so much. Well done. It's a PB&J. Get out.
Thick sliced and flour dusted, nature's own perfectly crafted bread. You're fancy now.
My store and my design business were exploding, but my old internet was not letting me run the show. So we switched to Verizon Business Internet. They have business-grade internet nationwide.
Make the switch. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
I played the game I love for a long time, and now I talk about it. But today I'm not talking baseball, I'm talking straight to you. Some men get nervous talking about prostate health, especially our own. What you may or may not know is there are a few things that you can do to take control. Begin by talking to your doctor about prostate cancer screening. Take control of your life, know your score. Go to homerunchallenge.org to learn more on how to save lives and support prostate cancer research.
Let's let Sam know about something even more urgent than his morning coffee.
Hey, Sam, did you know it's kitten season? Right now, thousands of kittens are in shelters across the nation, and they're in need of love and care. If you foster a kitten, even for a week, you'll be giving them the chance to grow up and find families of their very own. What's in it for you? You'll get to start your day with a smile, and your social posts will be way cuter too. Save some tiny lives today. Visit bestfriends.org/kittens.
They say those who can't teach, and they're right. Those who can't ignore a child's burning curiosity about the world. Those who can't allow a single kid to quietly slip through the cracks. Those who can't allow the great works of literature to collect dust. Those who can't sit idly by when there's a calling to do something that's much more than a job.
Because those who can't give up on the future teach.
What is your healing power? Helping veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression, anxiety, or loneliness? Is your healing power a simple, heartfelt letter or being a volunteer? At healvets.org, you can find out more about the healing power of pen pals, volunteers, and therapy kits. Help Heal Veterans, together with you, has been helping veterans heal. What is your healing power? Find out at healvets.org.
Let's do it.
Get your heart pumping with Well Life NYC on the Yes app. Take a tour of the hottest gyms.
I'm excited to have you here.
I love to have fun when I work out.
And the coolest places to chill around New York.
First, I'm going to be freezing you at negative 200 degrees.
This feels so good. Let's see what happens.
Catch an all-new season of Well Life NYC, streaming now exclusively on the Yes app.
What's up, everybody? Chef Marcus Sampson here on Home Plate New York on the Yes app.
From pinstripes to chef whites, Yankee stars take to the kitchen and explore some of their favorite New York cuisine. Plus, celebrities, athletes, and icons join Marcus at some of the hottest tables in town. Check out Home Plate New York, streaming now on the Yes app.
Show on Yes is presented by Untuck It. Shirts designed to be worn untucked. Shop now at untuckit.com.
We'll be able to just get like a still photo of the DirecTV logo. But
and I was on HBO when Inside the NFL really mattered.
When it mattered, yeah. No offense to Showtime or any, but listen, when you were on it back in the day when it was Len Dawson, Nick Bonicani, that's where you had to watch. That was the destination for it, and even shortly thereafter. But Gary joins us in studio. He's got a book, Once a Giant. I just broke the cover this morning, and I'm like 20 pages in, and if I didn't have to come to work, I'd probably be done with it. That's how good the start to the book is. How are you, man?
I am doing great. That little jingle there kind of tugs at my heart. I remember when Joey concocted that thing like 20 years ago, and that was fun. That was fun coming on with you guys back then, and a lot's happened in the last 20 years, but Don, you haven't aged a day.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
You too. And yeah, of course, Gary used to come on the pregame show with me and Greg back in the day too, and that's when we really got to know each other. But we'll get into the Jets and Giants of it all in a second. But the book Once a Giant, and there's been plenty of books documenting the '86 Giants, and that to me is my favorite team growing up. That's the first championship I saw as a football fan. 90 was the bigger miracle and the better game, but that 86 team is among the greatest teams of all time. But this book dives a little bit more into just the X's and O's of that season.
Yeah, I think it addresses, and my focus in this book is what happens to these players when they turn 50 or 60. And there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, the last 10 years about CTE, but it's much more than that. The damage that the game causes, it's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport. There's car wrecks all over the field, and there's nobody that escapes. Maybe kickers and punters, but in thinking through this book, how I wanted to present it, I think this is such an important issue for players of today, yesterday, tomorrow. They don't really think when they're in their 20s about what's going to happen to them, what that knee injury is going to mean when they're 55. Are they going to need a knee replacement? Or these concussions they're having now, are they going to have memory loss when they're 50? Things like that. So I really wanted to shine a light on this issue. I don't think there's ever been a book written like this. And the 86 Giants, I think we'd all agree, are the most beloved of the 4 Super Bowl championship teams. The 07 team, most surprising, incredible game. As you mentioned, Donnie, the 1990 game was amazing with the field goal. The 2011 team wasn't all that good, and they beat a Patriots team that wasn't as good as the 07 Patriots team. But the 86 team, Parcells, Belichick, Taylor, Sims, Carson, Banks, Bavaro, Burt, just go on and on. Some of the greatest names, not only in New York football history, but in NFL history and New York sports history. So instead of going around the league and finding players and writing their stories about what they're going through, I decided, this is my 6th book. I've never written a New York book. I know so many of these players that I'm just going to tell the story of this team. And it's not a complete downer. There's a lot of heartbreaking stories in here, but there's a lot of heartwarming stories. And again, it's not a game-by-game recap of the 86 season, because there were a lot of books written like that in 87, 88. What I tell the readers, where I take them behind the scenes, is how this team really became a brotherhood. And it's in the truest sense. They bonded. Remember, that was the pre-free agency days, so 84 and 85 led to 86. And winning that championship together, as Parcells says, it creates a blood kinship, and it's really true. And 37 years later, that bond is still very, very strong. A lot of the players still live in the metropolitan area. They see each other all the time. If somebody's in trouble, they kind of report it to Harry Carson. He considers himself captain for life. He rounds up the troops, and whether it's emotional support, financial support, or Harry Carson getting Jim Burt to the doctor 10 years after he finished playing because he was afraid to go to the doctor, and Harry literally held his hand into the examining room to say, you got to take care of yourself. You got to have annual exams. It's really a neat team. They achieved the ultimate together, and they've stuck together.
Yeah, it's amazing. And all the personalities that you just outlined. I'll throw in a couple more. How about Pat Summerall and John Madden? Because it seemed like they did every one of their games.
Yeah.
When you think about, those Giants teams, those voices were just like ingrained in your memory. And that was some of my earliest memories as a football fan, falling in love with the sport. Those Giants teams there in the NFC guys. Gibbs with the Washington at the time, the 49ers teams, the Bears. It was incredible, those battles. Philadelphia, of course.
With Buddy and the Cowboys,
Buddy,
with Landry.
Oh, unbelievable. But, you said the foundation was kind of rooted the previous couple of years. Like in 85, they go into Chicago in the second round and get shut out by the 85 Bears. We know that 85 Bears team, arguably the best defense of all time, maybe the best team of all time, who knows. But coming off of that field that day, you hear guys tell stories in the years since, Gary, but they really felt when they walked off the field, all right, next year there's going to be a different outcome, and we could beat these guys.
Oh, I don't think there's any question, Dan, that Parcells started playing that on the plane ride home from Chicago. His mentor, Mickey Corcoran, who, if you follow the Giants, you know who he is. He was Bill's high school basketball coach, and Bill used to take him on road trips. And Mickey said to him on the plane ride home, "Hey, Bill, you got to find a way to beat these guys because they're not going away." And the Bears got so full of themselves in 85 that they weren't quite the same in 86. And Buddy Ryan had left, so they kind of had a different persona to it. But I think what my book really brings out is these personalities that you didn't know a lot about. Mark Bavaro, intentionally, and maybe just the time in his life, but the combination was he just wasn't giving much up in those days. You didn't know anything about him, and he was a mystery to a lot of his teammates. I went to interview him at his house in Massachusetts, and his wife, Susan, who's a lovely woman, and she's an attorney, and she just went out to do some stuff while I was talking to Mark, and she came back like 2.5 hours later, and she goes to me, "Mark must really like you because he doesn't talk to anybody for 2 hours." And when people read the chapter on Bavaro, they're going to be amazed at some of the really funny stuff that happened with him in training camp. But the heartbreaking stuff, and it's such a recent story, how he suffered from long-term COVID. And I don't want to give too much away here, but it's bone-chilling what it did to him and the bad thoughts that were going through his mind about whether he wanted to continue on with his life. And there are 5 players in the book, I'm not going to name the other 4 right now, but who went on the record to tell the story how the after effects of football had them contemplating suicide. And first of all, I appreciate them trusting me with stories like that, because you have to imagine those are the most sensitive things you can ever want in a book. I mean, I was blown away by how forthcoming they were. But at the same time, it was just really sad listening to some of these stories. And that's not to say there aren't success stories. You know, Phil Simms, obviously, we've seen him on TV forever, and McConkey's done really well, and Carl Banks is the president of G3, which is a major sports apparel company. I mean, there's lots of stories like that. Harry Carson's been very successful, but Vivaro said it's a simple line, but it might be the saddest line in the book when he says, you know, I never found anything after football that I was good at.
Wow.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think if he hadn't gotten hurt, he was definitely on that track. He was Gronk.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but he had some incredibly horrific knee injuries. And he tells a story how he felt at the end the Giants mistreated him. And, you know, he went on to play a year in Cleveland and 2 years in Philadelphia. He thought he had some time left with the Giants, and he feels they turned their back on him. And George Young gave him a hard time about money that he felt he was owed. But I always did like Mark, but I never felt I really knew him. After interviewing him, and when people will, Dan, I know, or Anthony inside was talking about a picture of Mark in the book.
Yeah.
You know, as a result of the long-term COVID, he fainted in his house 2 nights in a row. And the second time, he fell face first on his marble bathroom floor. And the picture that's in the book is a little bit different than the picture he showed me in his house that was the hospital picture. This must have been like 2 or 3 days later, because the black and blue marks on his face are not as bad as they were in the hospital, but it's still shocking. When people get the book and they look at the pictures, and I can tell you a funny story about pictures in a second, and they see the picture of Bavaro, they could do a double take. What I wanted to tell you was I did my Brady Manning book in 2015. I became fairly close with Tom doing that. He was so helpful to me. He went to University of Michigan, as we all know. At that time, my son was either a freshman or a sophomore at Michigan. So after the book comes out, I see Tom in the locker room, and I give him a copy of it. And I said, hey, you know, I'd really appreciate knowing what you think. You know, take your time reading it. And I saw him about 2 months later in the locker room, and I say to him, hey, Tom, you have a chance to read the book? He goes, I've only looked at the pictures. And I said, well, my kid's going to Michigan. I hope he's getting a better education than that.
We're talking to Gary Myers, of course, longtime reporter for the NFL here in New York, and he's got a book, Once a Giant. You got to definitely check it out. In the introduction to the book, the Giants, and you talk about this invitation only that they'd have in training camp back in the day. And if you didn't accept the invitation, you got cut. So you go there and just for an hour, just violently running into each other was what you did.
Yeah, Leonard Marshall said they called it the Pace Party.
Right, right, because they were training at Pace at the time, and before they moved to Fairleigh Dickinson, and just beat each other up, Dan, for like an hour straight. So I was reading that, and I was thinking about what you said about post-concussion syndrome and all of the players, you know, the Dewerson and Seau, and you know, the list goes on and on. Training camp isn't like that anymore. I mean, they barely are in pads. We've down to 3 preseason games. Starters almost never play. So are the modern-day NFL players going to now avoid? Are we going to see less of those stories because of the fact that it's not quite as violent? It's hurt. I think it's hurt the product, unfortunately, because I don't think football is as good as it was back in the day because they're not trained properly, but they're also a lot safer. So are they going to avoid, do you think, those the peril that the guys 20, 30 years ago couldn't avoid?
Well, 2 things I'll say about that, and that's a great question. One is right now the sample size is too small because these brother-in-law practices, as they call them, have only been going on since the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, where everybody might as well be wearing a red jersey. The other thing is it's not until these players get into their 50s and 60s that you really know what effect all these collisions have had on them mentally. Early Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss. Now, listen, I'm in my late 60s, and I can remember what happened 20 years ago better than what can happen 20 minutes ago.
Right.
But it's happening to these players a lot earlier, and there's no question in my mind that it's a result of all the hits they took to the head. I mean, just Harry Carson tells a story in the book that he and John Riggins just ran right straight ahead right into each other on a plane in Washington. Harry gets up. He doesn't know if he's in the state of Washington or Washington, D.C., and he goes back into the huddle. And in those days, if you remember, the Giants used to hold hands in the huddle. And so they're they are holding Harry up. And he's looking to the sidelines to get the signals from Belichick for the play. It's the day before, the helmets had the speakers in them and whatnot. And Harry had no idea what Belichick was sending in. So the signal to Belichick was Harry would touch his helmet, like, give it to me again. And he still didn't get it. Gary Reasons, who was a rookie that year and a really smart player, also knew the signals. So he carried Harry along for a couple of plays until the cobwebs left. But they used to call it, I got dinged, I got my bell rung. If that happened, they get you on the sidelines. Can you count to 5? Tell me your name and what stadium we're in. Yeah, you got that right? You're good to go.
Or 2 out of 3 you got right.
Parcells told me a story, and he wouldn't let me use the name of the player in the book, but everybody knows who this guy is, and I don't want to embarrass him with this story. But he said the guy got a concussion during the game, and the next thing, this is a Giants stadium. If you remember, from the Giants sidelines, you walk to the right, to the tunnel, to the locker room. To the left is just another tunnel, but it wasn't for the players' use. Bill looks up, and this player is walking through the end zone to his left on his way up the wrong tunnel, having no idea where he is. Bill gets one of the sideline guys, hey, go retrieve him. They bring the guy back and walk him back the other end of the field to the locker room. That stuff happened all the time. I mean, Sims told me a story that against the 49ers in one game, he took such a hard hit that all he remembers is a guy standing over him saying, I think I killed him. It's a funny story, but it's not, right?
And that was commonplace, and we didn't know about it until years later on the widespread. And like you said, it's a completely different game. And I mean, for those of us who, you go and watch and cover the NFL now, it's a shell of what it used to be. And look, for all the right reasons, of course, but now players wear these protective foam things on their helmets up until that's like almost 2-3 weeks of training camp before they're even able to make contact. They don't wear the pads every single day. Gary Myers is joining us. He's got the new book, Once a Giant, comes out wherever books are sold. Tremendous read
September
on the 86. September 12th, wherever books are sold, Amazon, in stores.
You can pre-order it now, right?
Yes.
Do it right now.
Yes.
Get it out of the way.
Hey, and I just want to mention this real fast because Giant fans will hopefully be into this. September 14th at Bookends in Ridgewood, New Jersey, which is a really well-known independent bookstore. Phil Simms is going to be there with me at 6 o'clock, and we're going to sign books. And then on the 21st at Miller's Sports Hub, between 88th and 89th on 2nd Avenue, Harry Carson and Leonard Marshall are going to be there.
Wow. I mean, so that's as good as it gets right there.
Yeah, I mean, you people want to meet some 86 Giants and great guys.
And buy the book, too. I mean, you're not just showing up to rub elbows. Buy the book.
Yeah. Well, at Bookends, in order to get through the door to meet Phil, you got to have a book that you purchase there. That's your ticket in. So I know they've had a tremendous response on the pre-orders for that event. And hopefully it's a nice night and people want to come out and meet Phil. You'd be home in time to watch whatever the Thursday night game is.
I want to, get into Parcells a little bit. And for those that remember him, obviously we were talking about it earlier in the show. Coaching back then is different than coaching is now. Now coaches are a lot more player-friendly. They're more kind of, if you want to use the word, cuddly compared to the way, especially a guy like Bill was. There was no more imposing, you want to say, authoritative, controlling type of figure on the sidelines in Bill Parcells. I don't know if you want to say, an intimidating, whatever.
Well, sure he was.
And it's funny nowadays, Gary, because, you think about and hear all the stories about Bill, and he's living down in Florida doing his thing now. But you even mentioned in the book that even though he was the guy who was in charge of that team and was supposed to be, the superior figure with those clubs over the players, he's now taken on a role where he's almost taking care of these players now all these years later, financially, checking in, not just being their coach and the guy that you have to report to.
Yeah, it's one of the more amazing transitions that I've ever seen, and it's really a neat story. Bill had a love-hate relationship with his players. There were a small group of Parcells guys, Sims and Taylor and Carson and George Martin. But a lot of those guys really didn't like him. One week, they liked him the next, and then he'd get on their butt and they hate him again. He drove them hard. And Sims has said to me, I think all these years later, everybody appreciates Bill because of what we accomplished together. But Bill knows these guys really sacrificed for him. And in those days, 2-a-days in training camp for 6 weeks, pads almost every practice, running that pace party, as you mentioned before, Don, where they, the tight ends would go against the tackles and the linebackers would go against the guards. And it wasn't quite the old Oklahoma drill, but it was pretty brutal. And so now Bill's 82 years old, and he made a ton of money, and good for him. Mm-hmm. And he told me that he's put away as much money as he needs, as he said, for whatever I have left to live. And he's given his 3 daughters as much money as he can based on the tax laws, and he's given it to his grandchildren. And then whatever has left, and I don't know what the total is, but I assume it's substantial, he says that's for his players. And when I interviewed him, this is a year ago, April, to that point, he had given out a total of $4 million to 20 of his former players.
Wow.
And he says, I say, well, Bill, why? It's not your responsibility. And he goes, it is. Because they made me a Hall of Fame coach. They helped me win 2 Super Bowls. And if they're coming to me for money, I know I'm the last line defense. I'm the last resort because it's embarrassing for them to have to ask me. And I have to, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's listening, I think that's unprecedented. I've never heard a story like that a coach is giving money and writing checks to his former players who are coming to him for any variety of reasons, they're short for mortgage money or lawyer fees or maybe child support or medical
health
bills.
Coverage, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever the reason is, as long as Bill feels it's legit, he sits down and writes checks. One player who played for him on the Patriots calls him up last year. It was only a couple days before I was in his house. And he says, Coach, my pension doesn't kick in until next year. And I'm $65,000 short. I'm not sure what the reason was. I hate to do this, but I don't know where else to turn. Can you help me? And Bill loved this player on the Patriots. I remember that back when he was coaching the Patriots, he always used to talk about him. And Bill sat down and wrote a check for $65,000. And he says, I promise you, as soon as my pension starts, I'm paying you back. And Bill said to me, when I write these checks, I never expect to be repaid, and I'm never going to ask them for the money back. That money is there for this purpose. And whatever people thought of Parcells as a coach and his job hopping and all the stuff where he was, really kind of a what's the word? A lightning rod. That's what I was trying to think. You either really liked him if you were a Giant fan, or if he was coaching a team that you when he went to the Cowboys, probably Giant fans didn't like him. Whatever you thought of him during those years, it's different now. He's the patriarch. He took over as the patriarch of that team from Wellington Mara. The players call him on his birthday. The players send him Father's Day cards. Everson Walls, who only played for him a couple of years, it was 89 and 90. No, just 90. 90. He's the only year. The Super Bowl year was the only year Everson played for Parcells, because then Parcells was gone after the season, right, and Everson played another year. Everson calls me today. We were commiserating about and talking about Gil Brandt passing away, who obviously Everson knew really well, and I knew Gil really well from my years in Dallas. And he says, hey, how's Parcells doing? I said, yeah, I talked to him about once a month. He's pretty good. I said his 82nd birthday was August 22nd. He goes, yeah, I know. I called him on his birthday. Yeah. And this guy played for 1 year.
I still remember.
And I think it's not the exception to the rule. I think most players are staying in touch with him, and really look to him for advice. I mean, there are players that call him about, I got to decide, whether to buy this house or this financial decision, I got to do this or that. And they still really value
just guidance,
his life advice.
Once a Giant is the book. Gary Myers is the author. Stick around because I want to talk about the Giants and Jets.
Let's do
Season's
that.
about to get started.
Yeah.
1 week from today, Kansas City and Detroit kicks off the
Can you believe
2023
the Lions
season.
are in the opening game.
Unbelievable. Imagine on national television and a favorite to win a division. We'll see if it works out for them. But the team that's most hype is the Jets. Giants, a lot of expectations. So let's talk about that with Gary coming up next here on 98.7 ESPN New York. And yes, it's Don LaGreca here for Ramsey Mazda Summertime.
Fields rolls across in time. Ball game over. World Series over. Yankees win. Yankees win.
We just shipped our millionth monthly coffee subscription box. We're sending custom thank you gifts to everyone on our team who helped us get there. I had to call Eric at Custom Ink. Custom Ink has been with us from the beginning, and he makes sure that we get everything we need and even reminds us of our own company milestones. This milestone, though, I get to tell him about. He is every bit as excited as we are and knows great quality products we can customize and send for the gifts. Celebrate all your milestones with custom gear. Get started today at customink.com.
It should go like day after day. I gotta go.
Deliver your way and on your schedule with DoorDash. And earn more with new and more ways to dash. Now you can dash groceries, alcohol, and even pet supplies. New ways to dash means more ways to enjoy what you do and more ways to get paid. Sign up now to make the most of every dash. DoorDash.
Welcome to the Aura Sleep Lab. You need a bit more deep sleep. Getting enough high-quality sleep increases immunity. Why? Because sleep helps fend off sickness. A good night's sleep boosts your number of infection-fighting antibodies and cells. And with your Aura Ring, you can learn how to sleep deep and keep your immunity up. It's like having a sleep lab on your finger. Go to sleep with auraring.com.
They said optical shops weren't very inviting, so we, Warby Parker, created ones that were. They said prescription eyewear was too expensive, so we offered more affordable glasses, contacts, and eye exams. They said opticians weren't always friendly, so we hired only the friendliest and the most knowledgeable. And finally, they said the whole experience was just kind of unpleasant, so we set out to change that too. Visit a Warby Parker store and see for yourself.
This is not something you just watch. This is how you power your career, grow an epic garden, or make a quick dinner unforgettable.
Oh, this is about to be fire.
This is not sitting back or zoning out. This is your voice.
This is your canvas.
This is another way of playing.
This is where you stop scrolling and start doing with thousands of lessons from the best to ever do it. This is not streaming.
This is masterclass.
C.gov/stop overdose.
Intuitive sit to start in the all-electric ID4. It's the little things. It's a VW. Lease the 2023 all-electric ID4 Pro for just $319 a month after an EV lease bonus and customer bonus.
10 years ago, we started Untuck It out of my apartment, and today we have more than 80 stores worldwide.
It's been quite a journey. We didn't just create shirts designed to be worn untucked, we perfected them. With great fabrics and design at the perfect untucked length, so you can look sharp in this new business comfortable world. Just look for our signature sale. Untuck It, 10 years in the making, and we're nowhere close to stopping. Shop our Labor Day sale today at untuckit.com.
Mara, are you sure you don't want to go bowling with us tonight?
Yeah, no.
There's my little marzipan. Oh, my daughter gives the best hugs.
We're just passing through on our way to the Jazz Jamboree. And we wanted to thank America's #1 motorcycle insurer for saving us money.
Mara, your parents are
exactly like me. I know, right?
Well, cherish your friends and loved ones.
Let's roll, Daddy-O.
Let's boogie woogie.
When I hit 80, I needed help around the home. A
friend of mine told me to call Freedom Care, and they'll pay my granddaughter to take care of me.
Funded by Medicaid, Freedom Care allows people to choose who provides their care, and the caregiver gets paid instantly after their shift.
Life is sweeter with her around.
Nana gave me so much joy as a child. Now it's my turn to return the love.
Call now to find out benefits and pay and how fast you can get started.
Intuitive sit to start in the all-electric ID4. It's the little things. It's a VW. Visit your Volkswagen dealer for 3.9% APR financing for 72 months on a new 2023 all-electric ID4.
They say those who can't teach, and they're right. Those who can't ignore a child's burning curiosity about the world. Those who can't allow a single kid to quietly slip through the cracks. Those who can't allow the great works of literature to collect dust. Those who can't sit idly by when there's a calling to do something that's much more than a job.
Because those who can't give up on the future teach.
Gary Myers sitting in studio here on the Michael K. Show. Don LaGreca and Dan Grassa take you up until 7 o'clock on both Yes and also on 98.7 ESPN New York. And because we're on television, ENN at 6 will be a televised vehicle, so we're looking forward to that. Figure I'd keep Gary for another segment to just talk about the Giants and the Jets. Season opens coming up the 10th for the Giants, the 11th for the Jets. And let's just talk about the hype around the Jets.
Can I just say hello? Anybody in the Yes studio that I worked with for 12 years on This Week in Football from 2002 to whatever 12 years later is.
Okay.
Just want to say hey to you guys. You know, I miss going to Stanford and doing that show, and it's a great group. It's a great group.
No, Yes is terrific. They're very good at what they do. A lot of good people. I don't know how many of them crossed over this show to the one that you did, but any of them, shout out to them. A lot of hype around the Jets, and rightly so. They go out and get one of the great quarterbacks in the history of this sport, exactly what they need. I think it's the most talented team that they maybe have ever had. Unfortunately for them, they're in the AFC. There's just so many good teams. So what to you would be a successful season in 2023?
I mean, I hate to sound like this, but I really think anything short of the Super Bowl is a disappointment because Aaron Rodgers is a 2-year guy. They are completely and totally all in on trying to win with him. And I just think, going into the season with, getting Dalvin Cook, bringing in all those guys from Green Bay, adding them to the young base of really, really good talent, with Sauce and Garrett Wilson and Quinn Williams. I don't know how a Jet fan at this point, sitting here 10 days before the season, is going to say, yeah, I'll be happy with winning a wild card game and losing in a divisional round, or just getting to the AFC Championship game. That'll be great. But you know what? They got the 2 straight NFC Championship AFC Championship
plus
games.
the AFC is loaded too.
Yeah, but I'm saying
I know, but they're in it now. I hate this sounds just because they're in it to win it. They're not in it just to say.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say when you say.
I think you guys aren't going to agree with me.
No. When you say Super Bowl or bust, I would agree with you. But do you mean the entirety of Rodgers' time here? I don't know if you have to necessarily narrow it to the 2023 season, but he already has said, I'm going to be here for a couple of years, hell, maybe 3. At some point, with Rodgers wearing a Jet uniform, I would agree Super Bowl. But for it to happen this year?
It's a very small window, and he's been hurt in the past. And if he plays great this year and they don't get to Super Bowl, who knows if he's going to play great next year. He's going to be 40 years old this season. I know everybody's going, well, Tom Brady, played till he's 45. But there's a reason that nobody's done that except for Tom Brady.
Right.
And listen, I love Rodgers' attitude so far. He is completely embraced being in New York, being a Jet, saying it's the only place he would have gone after the Packers. He has done everything right so far, and they have surrounded him with a really good team. I think the weakness, obviously, is the offensive line. They got to protect them. I'm surprised they didn't do a better job bringing some more personnel there to make sure that they're not relying on Mekhi Becton at right tackle, coming off of basically 2 years of not playing, to protect him from that side. But There's no other reason they brought him in other than to get to the Super Bowl.
No, I get that.
So you want to say one of the next 2 years?
But
okay, fine. But what are they going to do this year?
Well, listen, of course, the Jet fans are going to. You're always disappointed when you don't win. But this whole Super Bowl or bust mentality, Gary, when you've got Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, you've got Burrow in Cincinnati. So if they might not even be able to win their division. I mean, they might win 12 games and lose this division by a game and have to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl.
The Giants did that.
But that's also an outlier, too. It's not something you want to rely upon.
Giants won 5 road playoff games in those 2 Super Bowl years in 07 and 11.
Right, that's why I say they're in the conversation.
Right.
And they haven't made the playoffs in 12 years
Super
either.
Bowl bust for Cincinnati, for Buffalo
for sure,
for Kansas City. I'm forgetting some teams here, maybe Baltimore. So why shouldn't it be Super Bowl bust for the Jets? They got a 40-year-old quarterback, for goodness sake.
12-year playoff absence, though, too.
It doesn't matter.
Walk before you can run.
No. You walk before you run if Zach Wilson was still the quarterback
but you know
at 23.
But you know what's interesting? I know it's a different time.
It's so hard, though.
But you just talked about the 86 Giants and what they learned from losing to the 49ers in 84 and the Bears in 85.
It's not that way anymore.
I know, but there's also the how realistic it is for a team that they won 7 games last year. I know Aaron Rodgers is going to be a guy that's going to represent a lot more wins than 7. But there's a lot of inexperience here, and so you're telling me if they play a championship game in Kansas City, lose on a last-second field goal, I can't kill them for that.
I didn't say I would kill them. I just say it would be disappointment. Now you're taking that to the extreme of losing to the defending Super Bowl champions on the road on a last-second field goal. I think that would be more heartbreaking than saying you're killing them for it, but I don't see why their aspirations and goals and expectations should be any different than any other team in the AFC.
Sure. No, but unfortunately, as you just said, in the AFC, you've got Kansas City, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Buffalo. Like, they're one of 5 teams that can look at it and say, we can win the Super Bowl. They all can't win it.
And I'm watching video of Joe Burrow today at practice. He's fine. He'll be ready to go.
And that's not to mention, like, if Trevor Lawrence continues to grow the way he's growing, I know that Jacksonville's in the South and nobody pays attention to the South, but they won a playoff game last year. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
as a collective,
they were going against Brandon Staley.
How does he have a job, Gary? How does he still have a job, Brandon Staley?
It's unbelievable.
I think
he's trying to reinvent the game, and
you've outlined anything is possible. The Giants did it a couple of times.
Yeah, listen,
well, definitely once, all 3 on the road, and then the one time having to beat Atlanta at home. But I think the best shot, the must for them to be able to go to the Super Bowl is you got to win your division. Maybe not even get a bye, but you get a home game, get some momentum. I don't know. It's happened before, but that's too tough a road. 3 road games, especially where those road games are going to be. Cincinnati, possibly Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore. Those are tough places to win.
Yeah, it certainly makes it more feasible if you can play 1 or 2 home games in the playoffs. But teams can win on the road in the playoffs. I mean, Cincinnati won in Kansas City, right? A couple of years ago, Cincinnati won in Tennessee, and I believe Tennessee was the 1 seed.
They won in Buffalo last year, down 2 offensive linemen.
Right, so... I can say is like, I'm not a homer by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm as cynical as the next person, but if I'm the Jets, I'm thinking, why not us?
Sure. Oh, yeah, I think that's fine to think. It's just that it's going to be really tough. Now,
well, yeah, of course it's tough. No matter, it'd be tough if they were in the NFC.
Right.
You got to have everything happen.
Well, the NFC
not
different.
As tough.
Not as tough. Not nearly
as
tough.
But it's still tough. I mean, San Francisco's going to be good if Purdy plays like he did down the stretch.
That's a big if.
Philadelphia is going to be good. Dallas is always pretty good, although they're overrated. I think the Giants will be better than people think. But the AFC, no question, has all the best young quarterbacks, and it's a much tougher conference. But, why should the Jets fans say, if we can just take a nice step this year, then we'll see what happens next year with Aaron Rodgers, at some point the skill set diminishes.
Well,
and maybe that's next year for Aaron Rodgers, even if he has a great year this year.
I think to that point, if it's like 9-8 and they sneak in as a wild card and they go on the road and they lose by double digits, then that's a disappointment. I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah, there's going to be degrees of disappointment. The way the scenario you put out there, losing on a last-second field goal to Kansas City, say the score's 35-30. Say they lose a game like Buffalo did in the championship game a couple years ago.
That epic with the Chiefs. Yeah.
About 42 points scored in the last 2 minutes. I mean, you'd say that's heartbreaking, but boy, they took a giant step. And maybe after the disappointment wears off, you can live with it. But as we're sitting here today, guys, 10, 12 days before the season starts, if I'm a Jet fan, if I'm a player on the Jets, I'm the owner of the Jets, nothing less than the Super Bowl is satisfactory to me.
With the Giants, okay? They made the playoffs last year. One of the best stories, exceeded expectations. Could you find a silver lining? Because we've been talking about this a lot, throughout the summer. They have a tougher schedule this year on paper. Could you find a silver lining if the Giants, let's say, miss the playoffs, okay, for whatever reasons, but yet the quarterback takes another step and validates the decision by the organization to give him all that money and really put all their trust in him? Could you see that as a positive despite the fact the team misses out in the playoffs and think it's a successful season?
I mean, Dan, all we've been hearing all summer is the Giants could be better, but their record might not be as good.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said for that. But I think in listening to Dable this summer and then Joe Shane spoke today, I think the Giants, at least the way they're approaching this, they're very realistic about who they are and where they are, and that this is just part of the gradual. And last year they took a huge step, but it's just part of the development of the roster. Most of their players, their best players are under contract, except for Saquon, just on the franchise tag. But I think the window for the Giants is a little bit larger because their quarterback is a lot younger. The Jets, no doubt, take the quarterback out of this. Totally. The Jets have better personnel than the Giants do. I don't think there's any question about that. But the reason the Jets window is shorter is because we don't...
The quarterback's 40.
Yeah. Now, listen, Aaron didn't have a good year last year. He broke his thumb against the Giants in London. It was like the 5th or 6th game. Quarterback breaks the thumb on the throwing hand. Even though he didn't miss any games, it had to affect him. He was breaking in a bunch of new wide receivers. And he also played horribly in that last game of the season against Detroit, the winner of the in-game at home, and he looked like he was ready to retire there. How much do we blame on the thumb? How much do we blame on that he seemed really unhappy in Green Bay, and he didn't have, Devontae Adams anymore? Was that the beginning of the end for Aaron Rodgers?
Maybe didn't establish rapport with those young wide receivers. Remember, he wasn't in the off-season program like he was this year.
And now he's rejuvenated. But I want to see him play more than 2 series like he did against the Giants to say, this is the Aaron Rodgers who won back-to-back MVPs a couple years ago.
But you talk about looking like he was done. Any different than Brady against Tennessee in that last playoff game in New England? He looked like he was done, too.
How about this for just a thought? Aaron Rodgers goes into darkness, right? 3-4 days. A couple years ago, how much would you have bet against him emerging from darkness and saying, the only team I want to play for is the Jets?
Yeah. When they looked like they were headed for 0-16 with Adam Gase? Right.
He had an epiphany. I only want to play for the New York Jets, a team that hasn't won the Super Bowl for over 50 years. I think that is like an amazing thing. I think he wanted to live in New York. He's obviously loves everything about it.
He couldn't. They wouldn't trade him in the NFC.
Right.
Jets needed a quarterback, and they got tons of talent.
Yeah. And they hired Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
And let's remember, the Brett Favre thing was working in 2008. I think they were 8-3.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had just beaten New England and Tennessee back-to-back on the road. The Titans were undefeated at the time, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
It was at that game.
Smoked them.
And then Brett's arm basically fell off, but he didn't tell anybody because he wanted to keep his streak alive, and they finished...
I think 8-8. They didn't win another game.
9-7, and Mangini gets fired. Brett never wanted to be here. He wanted.
And you knew it was only one and done anyway.
Right. Yeah. They gave him. They didn't even give him the choice. The Bucs were the other team that the Packers were negotiating with, but they figured, we want to send him to Siberia. We're going to send him to the Jets because we'll never hear from him again. Well, he maneuvered that situation to retire from the Jets, to get the Jets to cut him, and he goes signs with Minnesota because there was a clause in the contract, if you remember, in the trade agreement to the Jets, that if the Jets turned around and traded him to the Vikings, that would cost the Jets like 4 number 1 picks. So, they got rid of Pennington. They weren't going to trade Favre because Woody wanted him. And then he retires and unretires. The Jets did him a favor and cut him, and he goes and almost gets to a Super Bowl in Minnesota. Aaron wants to be here. That's the biggest difference.
He's all in.
It's really amazing.
Yeah. And if healthy, he's going to want to play 2-3 years. Or Favre, then he's playing in the championship game the next year for the Minnesota Vikings. That's not going to be a scenario. Yeah. Best of luck with the book, man. Again, it's Once a Giant. It's available in stores on the 12th, right?
On the 12th, and Amazon Now or the other online services, you can pre-order. And just as a reminder, Bookends, it's going to be a great event in Ridgewood, New Jersey on the 14th with Phil Simms, who I just want to tell you, I was there the day he was drafted in 1979. They bring him in. He's in the press room. We used to call it the dungeon in Giant Stadium, the press room. And some photographer, for whatever reason, says, can you sign your name on the blackboard there? Phil writes with his left hand. I don't know if any of you guys know if you guys know this. He throws with his right, obviously. He writes with his left. So Phil gets up there and signs his name with his left hand. And all of us who thought the Giants had no idea what they were doing, drafting a guy we never heard of, said, oh, my God, the Giants drafted a left-handed quarterback. Do they know that?
Morehead State. There wasn't a lot of national TV games for them back then.
And again, the draft was like on a Wednesday back then.
Right. Yeah.
Were you at the draft?
I was.
So is that true?
Yes.
That they had to redo the pick?
I write about that in the book, and Phil was really, can I say pissed off on? Yeah. Phil was really not happy about that. Rozelle makes the announcement. With the 7th pick of the 1979 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Phil Simms, quarterback, Morehead State. And the fans booed unmercifully. NFL Films was not recording the moment. And they go, wow, this is amazing. Pete, can you announce it again? So Pete had like a smirk on his face.
I remember that.
As he announced it again. And then the fans booed again. And that now when you see any documentaries about Simms getting drafted, you see that clip of the fans booing. But that was take 2 on that.
Yeah. Listen, I was a young kid. I wanted Otis Anderson, and they ended up getting him later on and winning a couple of Super Bowls.
Worked out pretty well.
Gary, best of luck,
guys,
man.
thanks so much for having me. Really
that is the great Gary Myers. Hang out here on the Michael K. Show. Dan and Don until 7 on Yes and 98.7 ESPN New York.
Listen, we get that ordering a suit online can seem a little risky. That's why we have a home try-on program. Go to thebblacktux.com/try. With so many good options, it might be hard to choose. We'll ship your selection to you to try out for 48 hours on us. When it arrives, put it on and make sure every detail's perfect. Once your 2 days are up, pack it back in the box, attach the free shipping label, and send it back to us. And when you're ready to rent for real, just head back to the Black Tux and make your order official.
Word is spreading fast about Colonial Penn's guaranteed life insurance. Rates are designed to fit your budget, even if you are on a fixed income. To learn more about the life insurance plan everyone's talking about, log on to colonialpenn.com. That's colonialpenn.com.
With ButcherBox, you never have to worry about what's for dinner. We deliver grass-fed beef, organic free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Get high-quality meat sourced from trusted partners with free shipping always. Join and get free salmon for 3 months. ButcherBox.
Welcome to the Athletic Basketball Show.
Folks, the league is in absolute chaos.
Players going off pretty much every other
playing picture that, when it clears, could leave a few future Hall of Famers.
It might all come down to some rookie taking free throws. Is on pace to break the
The Athletic. Subscribe today.
All right, here we go. It's a big responsibility to be a designer. Dagny Dover is a bag brand based in New York City, founded by 3 women. We make hyper-functional, performance-driven bags. That's like a mouthful. We're all about getting the most out of life. When you're organized and you have your things together, you feel good. And when you feel good, you can live life intentionally. Oh, it's pronounced Dagny Dover. Dagny means new dawn. It's a new dawn for fashion.
Paying down debt can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Upstart makes it fast and easy. Borrowers can access the funds they need in as little as 1 business day. Checking your rate is fast, easy, with no cost to you or your credit score. Loans start at $1,000 and go up to $50,000. Join the club of over 1.8 million customers who have turned to Upstart for a personal loan. Your financial freedom begins at upstart.com.
Meet Away's iconic suitcases, redesigned. Mix, match, and look good everywhere. More color, more luggage, more travel. Away. Shop at awaytravel.com.
Every swing, every step, and every life. An expert care team has your back. Every expertise for every life. Burke Rehabilitation, the top physical rehabilitation experts serving the tri-state area.
Kia EV6 was named 2023 North American Utility Vehicle of the Year. So consider this our victory lap. Lease a new 2023 EV6 Wind for $399 a month.
You gotta see it to believe it. I can't get enough. It's everything I love. If I'm obsessed, don't be it. I can't get enough. This is a whole nother league now. You gotta see it to believe it.
Our idea of the perfect day, you, your best friend,
Yeah, buddy. You ready to run?
and Quattro all-wheel drive. Own the elements in the Audi Q5.
Let's go, buddy.
Get exceptional offers at your local Audi dealer.
Let's let Sam know about something even more urgent than his morning coffee.
Hey Sam, did you know it's kitten season? Right now, thousands of kittens are in shelters across the nation, and they're in need of love and care. If you foster a kitten, even for a week, you'll be giving them the chance to grow up and find families of their very own. What's in it for you? You'll get to start your day with a smile, and your social posts will be way cuter too. Save some tiny lives today. Visit bestfriends.org/kittens.
What is your healing power? Helping veterans with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, depression, anxiety, or loneliness? Is your healing power a simple, heartfelt letter or being a volunteer? At healvets.org, you can find out more about the healing power of pen pals, volunteers, and therapy kits. Help Heal Veterans, together with you, has been helping veterans heal. What is your healing power? Find out at healvets.org.
Visit linkedbylovetv.org to learn more about kidney disease, transplantation, and prevention. Get the facts, get checked, and get healthy.
We all smoked in those days. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without Anthony. I think Anthony was the major influence today.
Jacob had both point guards today of the choices that we could have made.
Really?
Yeah, he grabbed them both.
Nice. Good job, Jacob.
The double grab. That's a good job by JP.
Oh, I'm good at
quality. Quality.
You know, we're getting into the semantics game, I think, with like the Super Bowl or bust, because Gary makes some good points. You brought Aaron Rodgers here because you wanted to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if that's necessarily the mission statement. To put yourself in the conversation for the Super Bowl, make yourself relevant, they're clearly that. But to say that if we don't make the Super Bowl, the season's a disappointment, I need to see how that looks when you've got so many great teams to be able to navigate. You said it best, 9-8, wild card team, go to, I don't know, Jacksonville and lose by 3 touchdowns. You know what? That's an awful season.
Right.
Miss the playoffs, that's an awful season. But you tell me you go 12-4, even if you win the division, you know, and you win a divisional round, maybe you get a bye divisional round, and you lose to the Kansas City Chiefs on a last-second field goal. I mean, I'm not going to start killing people and asking people to be fired and saying, I can't believe we didn't win a Super Bowl. Being in the conversation for a Super Bowl means that you're a playoff team. You've won a playoff game. Maybe you have a home playoff game. That's what you want to do. And it's been 12 years since this team has even been in the postseason. So I don't know if anybody in that room specifically said we need to get Aaron Rodgers because we need to win a Super Bowl, or was the conversation we need to get Aaron Rodgers because we need to be relevant again. We need to make the playoffs. We need to try to make a run here and be in the conversation for a Super Bowl. I think that's all anybody can ask for.
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, you want to win games, but also, I mean, Aaron Rodgers brings you other things as well. You get a lot of attention. You're going to sell a lot of jerseys. It benefits you at the box office. I told you. I was talking about this earlier. I mean, the Jets are moving tickets like hotcakes so far this year.
And then there were times in the last 12 years where they're peddling tickets in the middle of the season.
I mean, I could sit here and tell you. I mean, they've sold a substantial amount more of tickets at this time than they did last year. If they're relevant, I mean, they got the games in December for crying out loud.
And it's the first time things have actually broken the Jets' way, where like the Mets and Yankees aren't very good, so everybody's talking football, everybody's hyping up the Jets, and it's helped. You know, it's a business first and foremost, but you want to win games, and in order to win a Super Bowl, you got to win games, and they're in that position. Let's go to Don in Connecticut. You're on ESPN New York. What's up, Don? Hi, Don.
Don.
Hey, Don.
What's up, baby?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
First time, long time.
Cool. Thanks, man.
I've been a Jets fan for, I don't know, close to 50 years. My dad had season tickets back in the Name It days, and I remember sitting up in the top level at Shea Stadium freezing my tail off. But the reason I'm calling, I was wondering has anybody brought up the fact that the Jets, and this may apply to all of the AFC East teams, but they have a competitive advantage because they're only playing 7 road games. They got 9 home games plus the Giant game, which is virtually a home game with the exception of the crowd.
They play 9 by the letter of the law. They have the extra home game this year, so they play 9 at home, 8 away. But one of those road games is technically the Giant home game. So it's the way he's saying it. They're playing 10 games in MetLife Stadium. This year.
Yeah. Then no trouble. You know what? I don't. Other than the crowd, I don't know if football travel's that big of it. Unless you're going to Seattle, got to leave an extra day earlier. You leave on Saturday. You're out right after the game. You know, it's not a road trip per se. But no, I hear what he's saying. We'll see how much that is a competitive balance. Then it'll work the other way next year.
They actually won more games on the road last year than they did at home. So
listen, both of these teams, the Jets and Giants, leave a lot to be desired of what they've been able to do at home.
They haven't, and neither one of these teams, like you said, especially since this building opened, they really haven't established much of a home field advantage.
Not at all. And that's got to change.
For a variety of reasons, win games.
ENN.
Oh, yeah.
A televised vehicle with Anthony Pusick is going to be coming up next, and it's happening right here on Yes and 98.7 ESPN New York.
Friends have been telling friends about Colonial Penn Guaranteed Acceptance Whole Life Insurance for more than 50 years, and with good reason. If you're between the age of 50 and 85, it's a sure thing. Your acceptance is guaranteed because full benefits are not paid in the first 2 years. And the price? Options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. With Colonial Penn, your rate is another sure thing. It will never increase. And you should know this coverage can last a lifetime.
Visit colonialpenn.com for free information and a free gift.
Rowing is boring and hard, but it's a full-body workout that engages 86% of muscles. That's why we designed a rowing experience that's truly unique and even addictive. Aviron uses game psychology to get you motivated and keep you consistent through immersive gameplay, structured strength programs, thrilling races, streaming, and more. Aviron makes it easy to get a fun full-body workout that drives better results than a bike or treadmill. Aviron, and boring workouts.
With ButcherBox, you never have to worry about what's for dinner. We deliver grass-fed beef, organic free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Get high-quality meat sourced from trusted partners with free shipping always. Join and get free salmon for 3 months. ButcherBox.
Having those high interest credit cards, it felt unmanageable. My name is Belinda, and with Upstart, I was able to save money with a personal loan. From the moment that I checked my rate to getting that approval was just a few minutes. I felt relieved having the funds in my account so quickly. I was able to turn all of those, big payments into one small payment, and I was able to breathe.
Easy online borrowing. Personal loans up to $50,000. Go to upstart.com.
I have lucid dreams almost every night. I keep thinking I have some kind of double life. Years ago, I came up with the design for a beautiful flowy dress with a pattern made from real flowers. During hard times, I go into survival mode and I have bright dreams every night. Every night, I close my eyes and I find myself inside my brain. I travel through memories and time. I just want to keep dreaming forever.
See everything your store can do with tools from Square. Your inventory automatically restocks, so you never run low. Your online store stays open 24/7, so you're always ready to sell. Your payments are processed in seconds, so customers can breeze through checkout. And with one account to manage it all, you've got more time for taking time out. Get your all-in-one retail system by signing up at square.com today.
Meet Away's iconic suitcases, redesigned with even more traveler-friendly features. In new colors, inspired by the world. More color, more luggage, more travel. Shop at awaytravel.com.
I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly. Ding dong, Drizzly.
At Domino's, there's an endless debate. Does adding pepperoni to something always make it better? Yeah. Debate over. Introducing Domino's new pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread. Loaded up with irresistible pepperoni, it's our most delicious stuffed cheesy bread yet. Only at Domino's.
Hurry in to the Acura Summer of Performance event going on now.
Bottom of the ninth, John Carlos Stanton. See ya! A walk-off grand slam!
We gonna turn it up. Oh, yes! We on a whole nother level now. We about to turn it up.
Nothing. See ya! A walk-off home run by Aaron Judge.
We gonna turn it up.
We all smoked in those days. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now.
Oh, good Thursday, everybody. Hi, welcome to the first televised ENN of the week. Yeah,
one tomorrow as well.
One tomorrow as well, because the Yankees are on
TV,
on Prime, and also it's Houston, so
they're on Prime.
I believe so.
And then Sunday
Dan, you
night.
told me that, didn't you?
I saw the commercial, yeah.
Prime. Tomorrow,
And
Prime.
then Sunday they're on ESPN.
Wow.
So only one game on Yes, or is Fox taking Saturdays?
I don't know.
Yankees are on Prime more than Jack Ryan these days. That's a Prime vehicle, isn't it, right?
Wow. what
Get
a
it
poll.
back in an hour back.
You watch the Jack Ryan show or no?
Saturday's
what is
on
it?
Yes, too, by the
Saturday
way.
on Yes.
Yeah.
Saturday on Yes.
Oh, and Kay's got to be there because Prime is done by Yes.
Prime is done by Yes.
And then Sunday is ESPN. It's a Sunday Night Baseball. So you got 3 networks or 3
Right.
services to watch Yankees
Sunday's
this
the
weekend.
Espen Knutson vehicle.
The what? The what?
The Espen Knutson. Remember Espen Knutson?
No.
Columbus Blue Jackets?
Oh!
He's the one that unfortunately threw the puck in the stands to hit Brittany Cecil.
Jeez. Let's start off.
Really?
By the way, let's start off by
Shout
saying
out.
good evening to Don.
Oh, don't tell me you got the tennis. I'm punching the forehead.
Why the forehead of all places?
think it
by
would
the way?
really
Don
hurt.
goes right to the forehead of the ear.
That's going to leave a mark.
I'm just thinking, where can I hit you where
No,
it's
the,
really
the
going to
ear,
hurt?
he's going to stab you in the ear. That's his go-to.
Punch you square in the ear.
Because that, well, the ear is from Fight Club. Remember, when it was like, punch me. You punch me in the ear.
In the ear. Let's see.
But the forehead, I just think would hurt.
Yeah, well,
especially if I punch you like I had a knuckle out.
If you have if you have a pinky ring too, they go boom.
Goodness.
Right, you want one of these? You want a fresh one?
No,
Bada boom.
I'm gonna punch you in the forehead with the ring that said Unity.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And let's say good evening to Don.
Why can't he drive in, say hello, go and do his yo-yo jet thing?
You mean the thing you did for like
for 16 years?
For 16
The
years.
yo-yo jet thing.
That's why I'm allowed to say it. If Anthony said it, Jacob, a caller, I would have jumped.
No, Anthony could say it. I mean, Anthony works on the broadcast as well. I think, but you wouldn't say
Was this year 2?
3. It's my third year.
It's his third year.
Sorry.
Remember the...
Sorry, Carter.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to punch this guy square in, like, the ear.
Let's say good evening to Dan and Don.
I'm going to stand on the street corner and sell meth on Friday and Sunday.
Well, at least that's
what am I
productive. You
doing?
make some money.
If business is good, you're going to make money.
Maybe we'll get through the drops by the end of ENN. I'm not sure. Don and Dan again.
Can you confirm that?
I can't. The things you ask me.
What's up with all the pregnant pauses?
No,
in between?
that's how it was.
That adds to the suspense.
Well, no, that's how it was.
What did I ask him? That he's never watched The Price is Right before? And he...
No, it was who co-hosted or who hosted Family Feud or something. Can you look it up? I don't know.
Oh, that's right, because he can't do Google.
I can't do Google.
He Googles like a caveman.
It's Roy Combs. That's what
we said Roy Combs,
right.
but then there was somebody after Roy Combs we were saying.
Right.
From Dawson to Combs.
Right, and it was...
and you said the things you asked me.
The guy that did the lettuce in Coming to America.
Louis Anderson.
Well, there you
Who
go.
did the lettuce?
Who did the lettuce?
Imagine, he's no longer with us either.
No, he passed away
It's terrible.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, within the last couple of years.
You know, 4 days together, it starts to get a little...
I feel that's a dig in a certain
No,
way.
it's not.
That was very, authoritative.
I feel
no,
that's a
it's
dig in a
not.
certain way. It's not.
Right here? I'm like, no, it's not.
Well, I was emphatic. I don't... Listen, you'll know what I'm digging.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
I hope not.
All right. Well, let's hear from our good friend Robert Saleh. He spoke today, as you know, and he was asked, when did you start preparing for the Bills?
We've been from the second the schedule came out. With division opponents, you always started earlier, and then with them being the week 1 opponent, this has been going on for a while. It's just been little tidbits here and there. This week we've tried some stuff, but the cement in stone, that'll be Thursday.
So he's going to be ready, is what he's saying. Here's the one that I think is really going to make Don happy. So someone asked Robert Saleh, how many captains are you going to have this year?
We'll have 3, and then the 4th captain is decided on Friday by the coaches. So the 3 are decided by the players, and then the 4th captain is always decided by the coaches. Usually pick a guy who exemplifies everything we believe in as a staff. That's the sound of Kanye and the shot of the Giants. To each his own, man. But to each his own. To each his own.
I told you.
Now, who was that directed at, by the way?
All of the yo-yo media that
Not
feels
Saleh.
that they have to.
No,
That's after. No, I do that because you always see. Whenever somebody says anything remotely funny in a scrum or a press conference, the media all...
Don, that one was actually the media laughing at themselves.
Well, they're just...
Because whoever said it
was self...
But by the way, did you notice anything in there that indicated all they did was ask how many captains do you have?
No, but then you
he
heard
didn't say,
like,
well, we don't have 10.
No, but then it was the media trying to remember. They're trying to fish for stories.
Yeah,
they want information because remember, there's no football to write about for the next 4 days.
By the way, there was plenty of giant jet debate that you could talk about that didn't have to do with that.
That's another.
How about
fugazi
Sterling
thing.
Shepard
I mean,
being
come on.
upset about jet life?
How about Sterling Shepard actually stay healthy?
Well, that's not nice.
No, it's true.
All he did was say, all right, they called it jet life.
This whole thing
you don't
about
have to
what
be
the,
offended by. He's not offending you, as Don would
this
say.
whole thing with the stadium is ridiculous. Let them call it whatever the hell they want to call it. Like, who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Who cares?
They flipped the little veneer. What did you say? The blinds. They flipped the blinds.
Venetian blinds.
The Venetian.
Yeah.
I've said
So
veneers.
I'm looking it up here. The Buffalo Bills, 8 players were named captain.
Oh no.
He can find the Bills captains, but he can't find who hosted Family Feud.
Maybe
after
he's not
Roy
interested in
Combs,
finding
or
that
Ray
out. Like
Combs.
you're not interested in doing Immaculate Grid for 5 seconds.
That takes more than 5 seconds.
Not for you.
It depends.
Okay. Well, the other thing, of course, is remember the story I was talking about yesterday? Jihad Ward said he was standing up for McCain because he got concussed by Cobb's blindside block and blah, blah. Well, that got back to Aaron Rodgers today. And someone spoke to him. And he said he thought we were laughing at his teammate. That never happened. And I think he's making S up. I don't care. Now, these guys do play each other in the regular season. You think there's going to be any carryover by the time they play each other?
I don't know. Let's see what their records are by the time you get to October 29th. Right? I mean, look, both teams are trying to win a game. It's not about bragging rights. I mean, that goes out. Bragging rights is more the preseason garbage anyways, and maybe that's even lessened over time. Once you get to that game, whatever week it is in the season, got to win. I mean, what if one team is in the midst of a losing streak and you got to right the ship? Like that could be like your season at that point if you get off to a slow start. Both of these teams have tough games right out of the gate. Giants 4, their first 5 are against playoff teams from last year. The Jets' first 6 are very, very difficult. You want to win games.
Absolutely. Joe Douglas also spoke, as you guys know. He talked about adding Dalvin Cook.
Well, I think it's an opportunity to add another Pro Bowl caliber player to the roster and another player that was excited to come here and a player that we feel is a difference maker to the team, to the offense. And the experience that I've had and the teams have with Dalvin has been unbelievable. He's all ball and he loves football. And so we want to be a group of guys that first and foremost love this game, love competing. And Dalvin's one of those guys. So it's been good to spend time with him and see him go about practice this week.
So I edited the end of that cut. When the reporters afterwards said, so you really think that the offense can cook this year? And then they said... They didn't say that. Now, Joe, Mr. Douglas, I should say, did you always think that Rodgers was a realistic possibility?
Honestly, after the season, I thought it was very unrealistic. And then as the days went along and the conversations that I had with Brian, and then we were allowed to talk to Dave Dunn. We were given permission to talk to Dave. And then it became, with every passing day, like this could really happen, you know? So I think it really became a real thought that it could happen around the combine.
Do you ever sit back, Joe, in your big office and look at some practice tape and go, wow, Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback?
Yeah, like 5-6 times a day when I'm watching the film, there's these throws that are just unbelievable, unreal, tight window throws, accuracy, the delivery, the compact, quick delivery, balls just rifled out of his hands, decision making, it's surreal.
I'm surprised. Did they hand out Pulitzers after this press conference? Oh, dear God.
You know what I think you should do?
Joe Douglas, just issue a statement, will you? I mean, the poor guy. Really, that was a question.
You know what I think you should do? I think you need to go out there for one of the press conferences and ask questions.
No, you know what? Because I knew to lay out. There's nothing wrong. I got to tell you, I covered lots of press conferences, and the best thing I did was not ask a question. But some of these guys feel like I got to ask a question. I got to be relevant. I'm just there. Well, man. If I got a question, I'll ask.
A lot of them have agendas, meaning like they have a topic that they think that they want to write about. And so it's like, how do I further the topic? Well, if I'm writing about, so-so wide receiver, I'm going to ask them a question about wide receiver.
You know, Dan, other than you, because you're so special, this is the first time the media's gotten
Whoa. What, did you hear, like, the sarcasm in that one?
He hasn't liked either of us all week.
No, he's done. Finish the point?
The way he said it, he's like, and Dan, this is for you because you're so special.
Other than you.
What was that?
Don, you want to hear it? Other than Dan, because he's so special, this is the first time anybody in the media has gotten a chance to talk to Joe Douglas, probably since they traded for Aaron Rodgers.
No, whose fault's that?
But I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm just talking
he
about
said I talked to because I got
how
to talk
great
to Joe
and
Douglas.
special. Right. Do you think Buttle got a chance to talk to Joe Douglas today?
No, I think he wanted to, but he
didn't get a chance to.
He was on the golf course.
That'd be up $20. Harrison Bader claimed.
I apologize, by the way. I didn't mean to attack you.
I apologize for making you assume that
for the insinuation.
Yeah, it's an insinuation situation.
Okay. Insinuation situation.
Yeah. Big day in Ohio waiver wire claims because almost everybody that was put on waivers in MLB were claimed by either the Guardians or the Angels. Not the Angels. I'm sorry, the Reds.
Yeah.
Or the Guardians. The Angels were the ones that put everybody on waivers.
Yeah, everybody on waivers was them.
One of the players that got claimed by Cincinnati was Harrison Bader, and he caught up with the media mid-game because he wasn't playing today, reflecting. Do
you think they
what?
You think they told him, like, Harrison, you're not playing anyway. Why don't you go talk to the media?
Right. He saw it on the ESPN bottom line.
Well, yeah, no. They told him there's a chance you can get claimed today, so maybe we shouldn't, put you in the starting lineup.
Right.
Yeah, claimed by the media.
So before he left, he spoke with the media in the tunnels of where were they? Detroit.
The bowels.
The bowels.
The bowels.
The bowels of Detroit. reflecting on his Yankee career.
It just means so much to me to be a New York City kid playing in the Bronx for the Yankees. And yeah, it's just really special for a lot of reasons. So there's just a lot of good moments. And I'm just really excited because regardless of the situation, no one can ever take the fact that I put that uniform on growing up in that city, which means a lot to me and a lot of people who support the Yankees for all these years. So I'm just very, very excited and thankful for the opportunity. And man, that was special. So I appreciate everything with you guys. And yeah, we'll just see where it takes us. So I just wanted to say that.
Would you...
As soon as he looks at the standings, by the way, and realizes the Reds are only a game out of the wild card, all those tears are going to go away.
But he was a little
let's play baseball.
He was a little glassy-eyed, though. It's a hometown game.
Again, he's going to look at the. He's going to see the standings on the bottom line on ESPN and be like, "Shoot, we're only a game out of a wild card. Let's go."
Now, remember, he was part of the plan to be the everyday center fielder. As a matter of fact, they could have traded him at the deadline, didn't because they thought they were still alive. So let's say now Dominguez is young. He's only 20.
Yes.
So I don't know if they're ready to have him be your starting center fielder next year. But let's say he struggles here in the last month of the season. Do the Yankees think about bringing Bader back?
No,
you don't do it?
No, because he hasn't. I don't think that he.
You'll probably get him at a fair price.
Smashing, you know what? If he goes out there in the next month and does for Cincinnati with and by the way, it's a hitter-friendly ballpark. If he does for Cincinnati what he did for the Yankees in the postseason last year, hitting those home runs, somebody's going to give him a contract.
Yeah, I'm
more than what the Yankees maybe were willing to pay. I don't think it's going to be the Yankees.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
So if Dominguez isn't ready to be their starting center fielder, so what did
well, think about what you're getting for the
Esteban Florio.
Yeah, Florio.
Now, I got to believe, because obviously with these call-ups, you've got room on the 40-man roster. Florial still has not been put on the 40-man roster?
I don't believe, and Dan knows this better than me. No, he's not. That's the big problem. That's why when they were struggling in June, he's on the 40-man. Now, 2 spots have been created, with Donaldson being moved, now with Bader also, and moving on from the reliever that they got at the deadline, whose name is escaping me because he never played and it didn't matter.
Keenan Middleton?
No. He's still there.
Spencer Howard?
There you go, Spencer Howard. Do they have 3 40-man roster spots? Because right now, Dominguez and Wells take up 2 of the ones that they vacated.
Right.
Florial is not on the 40-man.
No.
So if Bader also now adds another one, yeah, maybe they can bring up Florial, yes. Maybe they can.
Well, you got it, because otherwise, you better do it soon, unless, then he's going to be exposed to the Rule 5 draft.
Technically, they'd have 3 spots,
roster.
right?
Right.
Because the 2 spots of the call-up and then Bader's roster spot.
Yeah, because they don't expand rosters, right, the way they used to.
No, it's 1 and 1.
Right.
You get a position player and you get a pitcher.
Oh, well, then
it's not like
I take it back.
Yeah.
Florial can't come up. Because Wells and Dominguez are already coming up.
No, but Dominguez replaces Bader, so that doesn't count as the expanded roster.
But you still need a pitcher. You have to bring up a pitcher.
Yeah, you have to bring
up a pitcher. What if they put somebody on the IL?
They'll bring up the Karate Kid.
Who's the Karate Kid?
Ron Marinaccio.
Probably.
Because he sounds Machio, Marinaccio. It's very close.
Or as he called him yesterday, Danny's son.
Well, that was
his name in the movie we were talking about.
He's led a very successful life outside of just the movie.
Well, he was in The Outsiders. He was in My Cousin Vinny.
Sure.
Cobra Kai. I'm shocked you don't watch. Well, you don't have respect for him and his
My
craft,
brother's all over me for that because he loves it.
Cobra Kai's
I watched the first 3 episodes and I kind of I did. It just
it's on
I
YouTube.
didn't.
Now it's on Netflix. It's very easy.
I know,
to consume.
but this is when it was on YouTube and I watched it.
Yeah,
I'll get to it right now. I'm in the middle of.
There he is. He's on. Yes,
of episode 2. I love the book. I read it.
Yeah.
How many episodes of Better Call Saul will you get through tomorrow during the commercial?
No, I was still in the middle of the. I'm like 15 minutes into the 2nd episode.
You know who's watching Better Call Saul right now? As a matter of fact,
Don.
Paul McCartney.
What?
Really?
Yeah, because
how do you know this?
Because I'll explain.
Explain.
Because he the email server thing, they send out these things monthly. What's the latest happening with Paul? I'm on the mailing list, and the thing that somebody asked the question about, because he takes questions from people.
Just asking a question.
What's he's watching now? TV shows, this and that, and he's like, sometimes I'll pop open the iPad and I'll watch on long car trips a television show or something. Right now I'm watching Better Call Saul. It's really good.
I think if we made an effort, considering his wife is from New Jersey, that we might be able to get Paul McCartney on.
No shot.
What's the matter with you?
It would be great, but I'm just saying no shot.
Why do you say no shot? He ends up wacky places. He might think it's kind of fun.
He was walking the streets in Metuchen when he was here a couple of summers ago.
Saying,
just by himself.
I think that if you work the right angle, you might be able to get him in.
I don't think so.
Guys, I have something here from Hal Steinbrenner.
Is this is legit?
The Associated Press caught up with him in the Yankee minor league complex in Tampa. Right. You know that they always catch him, Don, at the end of the year, he's there. Somehow they know the day he's going to be there.
Did they ask him if they ever dreamed that Jason Dominguez would be a center fielder? Does he ever look in the mirror and dream?
Did you know Jason was with 2 S's instead of 1?
Well, if they did, you would have heard something like this, and then a little bit of this.
Were those the questions that were asked? The house, imagine if you like if you get Hal Steinbrenner, right? Like you get Hal Steinbrenner as he's leaving the complex in Tampa, and you're like, you just walk up to him and be like, Hal.
Now this might actually take up the rest of the show for us guys.
Wait, we're laughing at that.
Steinbrenner told the AP, "We'll learn a lot."
Hal, we got a question.
We'll learn a lot in September, and we'll learn a lot in the spring. That's why I didn't want to trade these guys away at the trade deadline. We've traded away too many guys the last few years, so I think it'll be exciting. This is him talking about the kids.
And what does that mean? I've said it how many times this week? In baseball, you don't put too much or too little stock in April or in September. So that's what they're falling back on?
Hang on. Go ahead.
This is why he didn't want to trade him at the deadline. Who in their right mind would have traded any of these guys to get better at the deadline? They were out.
I think he's talking about
they were in it to
trading Dominguez or Peraza or Pereira in an effort to get better to try and make a run.
How dumb would that have been?
Well, clear. Again, you ask who asked the questions. Here's who's asking the question. We're going to take a very deep dive into everything we're doing.
Reporter.
Steinbrenner said, we're looking to bring in possibly an outside company to really take a look at the analytics side of what we do.
They're bringing in the Bobs, the consultants.
Baseball operations in general. We're going to have some very frank conversations with each other. This year was obviously unacceptable. So the question that we had in May, and all the people that have called up since saying, Hal's going to say that we had too many injuries because he brought the caveat in of if we're healthy, I will not ask the tough. Not that I won't ask the tough questions, but if we're healthy, I will ask the tough questions if we didn't do well. And regardless of Rizzo's injury, regardless of how long they lost Judge, regardless of all of the issues that they've had with their starting pitching, it looks like Hal has now said this is unacceptable, and they're thinking of bringing in an outsider.
You know what that tells me?
The Better Call Saul.
You know what it tells me? Are these guys really safe?
No.
The ones that are making decisions. If you're bringing in a third party, somebody from outside the organization who's just going to swoop in and have no knowledge of the inner workings of the Yankees baseball ops, is that really put a lot of faith in Brian Cashman and the job he's doing?
No, but here's the semantics of this. Doesn't necessarily mean Cashman's going to get fired.
No.
It would just mean that, hey, we're going to bring in some help for you to try to clean this up. And two things are at play here. One, he doesn't lose his job, but he does lose some power because he's got 4 years left on his contract. Or do you insult him to where Brian's like, I'm not for this. I want to step away.
Or are you going to bring
so you don't have to fire.
Like a Mets situation. Make Brian like the executive, but bring in a GM who's going to do all the dirty work and get his
in Minaya and Saban.
Sabian. But they may not want that job. They may not want the everyday, day in and day. I mean, it's a grind.
I know it's a grind.
They did that for a lot of years.
I understand that, but they still came in here as consultants. Brian brought them in. But if you're looking at trying to create something, like I always use the analogy about the Rangers, where it was J.D. that was the president and Gordon was the general manager, or even what the Knicks have, where Perry was the general manager, but Leon Rose was making all the decisions.
Yeah, right.
Like, are you going to bring in somebody? Brian Cashman stays the general manager, but there'll be somebody above Brian that will be making other decisions, and Brian will either have to accept that lesser role or maybe just say, hey, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to walk away, and then Hal doesn't have the blood on his hands of firing him.
I'll tell you what. Michael's back tomorrow. This is very,
to
me,
is the open.
This is very, very interesting because, as you pointed out, Don, people might not get fired, but people that may have thought they were safe because, hey, I'm with Brian. Brian's my guy. I don't think Brian's going anywhere. The analytics department, who seemingly is untouchable, as you always talk about, they're going to get looked at now. And whether it's the way they do things or how they look at things, they're going to either be told, get out, or I think we have to look at this a different way.
That's huge. That's a game changer. I mean,
if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, third party. I mean, you know what? That's called everybody be on high alert. Even people that have been here in the job that they currently have for 25 years.
So that's interesting because there was that report that Hal would not go over Brian's head to fire Boone.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done that. But he would go out and get an outside entity to run the analytics department. Isn't that even worse? Isn't that still going over Brian's head?
Or what does he think about making a move? And he's going to bring in like a consultant like the Jets did once upon a time to hire Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles. Remember that?
Yeah, that didn't work.
And by the way, that doesn't mean the outside people are going to be The ones, as you pointed out, with the Jets. It's not going to always work.
Oh, it's a coin flip.
But outside company.
Company. The company. Do you think they're going to get the company?
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, Anthony in the
they put the effort in
running the Yankees.
They put the effort in. They do the legwork.
Absolutely, they do the legwork. They'll leave no stone unturned.
I'm a big company guy now.
Shout out to the company. Absolutely.
Shout out to the company.
Shout out to the company.
They gave a check to the widow Sasso.
That was
presented
big.
it.
That was big.
Come on.
That's huge.
Any yo-yo can come and play in the game, Dan. They drop cash.
So basically,
I'm not at liberty to give the amount.
No,
but it wasn't
I'm not
nothing.
asking that. But
it wasn't nothing.
It was their money that turned the tide. They paid to get back in your good graces.
But they didn't pay me. The whole reason that we do the Sasso softball is to raise money.
It shows they're upstanding people and good people.
They went over my head.
And support not only Don, but the whole station, as we know, and they love DNR, and we love them. And that's going to do it for ENN.
And where were you for the softball again?
I wasn't here.
No, the Yankees had some clinic.
Is that right? I got the Yankee shirt on today. This was fun, guys. Really enjoyed this. But you just love that one, huh? That's just... Jacob, didn't I tell you? I told you he was going to do that today.
I was a little afraid, honestly, that the TV might take a little bit of the fun out of ENN. No, it added to it. Thank you, yes. Boy, that was a lot of fun.
When does the TV take the fun out of ENN, though?
I don't know, because sometimes you get a little timid, a little shy.
It wasn't HOC.
As Joe Namath said, when the one-eyed monster's on you.
Does the one-eyed monster know about Mazda by any chance?
Oh, they know. Well, they also know that it's Don LaGreca here for Ramsey Mazda.
All right, here we go. It's a big responsibility to be a designer. Dagny Dover is a bag brand based in New York City, founded by 3 women. We make hyper-functional, performance-driven bags. That's like a mouthful. We're all about getting the most out of life. When you're organized and you have your things together, you feel good. And when you feel good, you can live life intentionally. Oh, it's pronounced Dagny Dover. Dagny means new dawn. It's a new dawn for fashion.
The path to business success is often unpredictable. Managing your bank account doesn't need to be. Find your flow with powerfully smooth banking that keeps you focused on bringing your vision to life. The simplest decision is often the right one. Introducing IO, the company credit card that offers 1.5% cash back on everything and streamlines card management.
Friends have been telling friends about Colonial Penn Guaranteed Acceptance Whole Life Insurance for more than 50 years, and with good reason. If you're between the age of 50 and 85, it's a sure thing. Your acceptance is guaranteed because full benefits are not paid in the first 2 years. And the price? Options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. With Colonial Penn, your rate is another sure thing. It will never increase. And you should know this coverage can last a lifetime.
Call today, 1-800-290-3100.
It should go like day after day. I gotta go.
Deliver your way and on your schedule with DoorDash. And earn more with new and more ways to dash. Now you can dash groceries, alcohol, and even pet supplies. New ways to dash means more ways to enjoy what you do and more ways to get paid. Sign up now to make the most of every dash. DoorDash.
I'm cooking without a recipe. I now have a signature cocktail. It's not a drink. It's an adventure. I'm giving a charming impromptu toast. I'm discussing astrophysics in a casual conversation. What? Surprise.
Blame it on Masterclass. Learn from the best to become your best with thousands of online lessons. Now just $10 a month.
Meet Away's iconic suitcases, redesigned. Mix, match, and look good everywhere. More color, more luggage, more travel. Away. Shop at awaytravel.com.
Doctors Without Borders has provided free, life-saving medical care for over 50 years. And thanks to the 6 million people around the world who support our work, Doctors Without Borders will continue to put our patients first.
K Show on Yes is presented by Untuck It. Shirts designed to be worn untucked. Shop now at untuckit.com.
10 years ago, we started Untuck It out of my apartment, and today we have more than 80 stores worldwide. It's been quite a journey. We didn't just create shirts designed to be worn untucked, we perfected them. With great fabrics and design at the perfect untucked length, so you can look sharp in this new business comfortable world. Just look for our signature sale. Untuck It, 10 years in the making, and we're nowhere close to stopping. Shop our Labor Day sale today at untuckit.com.
Our idea of the perfect day? You, your best friend.
Yeah, buddy. You ready to run?
And Quattro all-wheel drive. Own the elements in the Audi Q5.
Let's go, buddy.
Get exceptional offers at your local Audi dealer.
My name's Dan. I live here in San Antonio, Texas. My wife Magda and I have been married for 39 years. About 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't feeling as if I was as sharp as I used to be. I wanted to try something that was over the counter. I saw the Prevagen commercials. After a short amount of time taking Prevagen, I started noticing a difference. That I'm remembering this and remembering that. I stopped taking Prevagen and I found myself slacking back, so I jumped right back on it. I feel as if it's brought me back to the good old days.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
The time has come to answer the call.
There must be butterflies for sure.
And be remembered for how you respond. As promise becomes the present.
The youth movement is underway.
Those who called upon you will remember these moments forever.
Visit linkedbylovetv.org to learn more about kidney disease, transplantation, and prevention. Get the facts, get checked, and get healthy.
We all smoked in those days. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now.
Last call, crew, 1-800-919-3776. I don't know if people have realized this. I know Michael mentioned it, and I know there was a report in the New York Post like 2 months ago about it, but tomorrow will be the final time that the Michael K. Show will be on until 7. The Dan Graca Show is eventually, when Tuesday comes around and the first day after Labor Day, when the summer is officially over as far as radio is concerned and all the vacations are done and things get back to normal, the Dan Graca Show is going to begin at 6:30, which is huge because it means more Dan Graca. Because like the Knicks pregame is at 7 o'clock. And then whenever there's like a later Ranger game, it guarantees at 6:30 that Graca is going to be on.
Right.
The only time Dan's not going to be on would be if there's a Ranger game at 7 and the pregame is at 6:30. So the K Show will go from 3 to 6:30, and then Dan will be on at 6:30. So the last call, crew, it's today and tomorrow, and that's it.
That's it.
So get ready for that, because starting Tuesday the 5th, Dan Graca will be from 6:30 to 9.
Correct.
And then Larry and Gordon will be on from 9 until midnight.
Well, yeah, and I mean, anybody who owns a copy of the Jet Yearbook, for crying out loud, there's a full page.
Right. But I don't know if we've talked about it on the show. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
No, but that's good.
All right, let's get back to the busy phones. There are a couple of lines open at 1-800-919-3776 if you want to jump in. Let's go to Chris and Beth Page. You're on ESPN New York. Hi, Chris.
Hey, guys. Don, listen, you're going to love Better Call Saul. I mean, and I'll say this much. I'll guarantee Mike Ermitrouten will become your favorite character. He's my favorite character.
I've heard somebody tell me that's like one of the best characters in television, period. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, he was in Breaking Bad. You know him from Breaking Bad.
What episode?
Mike?
Mike. Oh, because he say he gave the full name.
Mike Ermitrouten.
Oh, no, he's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the guy
That's
from...
his character's name.
But that's the guy from Beverly Hills Cop.
Correct.
Oh, guys, it was 40 years ago, but yeah.
But he also features big into Better Call Saul.
Right, and he's in the first episode, and he's working like the parking.
He's a parking attendant. Yeah.
So, all right, Chris.
Space number?
What do you got?
Okay, listen. I was listening to Gary Myers. I totally agree with him. I don't even think their levels of disappointment. I'm going to say this. Anything short of a Super Bowl win in the next couple of years for the Jets, anything short of a win, is a failure. It just is. This team is built now to win the Super Bowl. What are you going to do if you don't win the Super Bowl? And who cares if you lose in a last-second kick against the Chiefs? I'm a big Giant fan. You know my worst, the season I always want to forget, the 2000 season when we got killed by the Ravens in the Super Bowl. I hated that season. Hated everything about it. It didn't matter that we
But Chris, you have the luxury, and I'm a Giant fan too. You have the luxury as a Giant fan to hate that season. Because you had 2 Super Bowls going into that one, and then 2 Super Bowls coming out of that one. But a Jet fan has not seen their team in a Super Bowl since January of 1969. Their team has gone 12 years without making the playoffs. So you as a Giant fan can say, oh, I hate 2000 because they got killed by the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Dan, as a Jet fan, tell me that if they went to the Super Bowl and got crushed by the Eagles, you're going to hate the 2023 season, or are you going to look at it as the greatest season you've ever seen in your life?
I mean, look, the 2 years with the championship game, in 3 that I could recall, that I was old enough to recall. I still think, to me, the most fun I ever had as a fan, and this was, before I was in the business and whatnot, 1998. And they were leading in that AFC Championship game in Denver.
Yeah, 10-0. Yeah.
But I look back on that 98 season so fondly that there were so many enjoyable moments that year. And, I mean, that Giant team in 2000, for example, that team wasn't expected to go to the Super Bowl. The fact that they went to the Super Bowl, waxed the Vikings in the NFC Championship game at home. You won a conference championship at home.
Why do I have to hate that season? Listen, I'm a Giant fan. I've seen 4 Super Bowls.
You were on the field for that, right?
Yeah, because it was like a really cool thing. I was working at the Fan at the time, and I was trying to get tickets. I've told this story a couple of times, but it's worth repeating. I had covered the Giants in 99.
Yeah.
And then the Fan shifted me over to the Jets in 2000. To cover the team. But I had some connections, and I got to know Pat Hanlon, who I think is amazing at his job, one of the best PR directors in sports. So I called him, and I said, I got to get into the championship game against the Vikings. He's like, listen, I can't guarantee anything, but send me a check for X amount of dollars, and if a ticket loosens up, I will give it to you. So he gives me a call or he emails me or something and says, Don, sorry, can't get you in. But then cashes the check. So it was on accident. It ended up being a funny thing, but I'm like,
how much was it?
I don't know how much it was. This is 20-something years ago. I don't know. It was $200, $250, whatever it was, for a couple of tickets if they happen to loosen up. And then tells me that he doesn't get the tickets, and then he cashes the check. It ended up being a mistake that he cashed the check, and he was able to get it back to me, but I thought it was like a funny story. So one of the salespeople at the Fan at the time got me into the Fan suite for that game. So I got to see the Giant championship game against the Vikings in the suite. I was in the building. So I'm looking at my pass, and I see I got field access. So I go down onto the field for the ceremony. So that was one of the first years they did the ceremony actually on the field and not in the locker room. And there's a picture. I could probably find it, maybe tweet it out, where somebody had taken a picture on Fox. And you see me in the background. Tiki Barber is getting interviewed. You see me in the background, like my Giant jacket, and I've got my goatee and my beard, and it's all like dark brown before everything turned gray. And then the other part of the story is, that was the year, remember they had the grass and they had to paint it green. It was awful. The field was awful back then in the early 2000s. And they shot confetti up in the air. So in my Giant jacket, I had all these sandwich bags because Nancy had a dog at the time, and we'd take the dog for a walk, and I'd use the sandwich bags to pick up after Brittany and throw the poop out. So I got it in my pocket. So I scoop up the turf and put it in the sandwich bag. I'm like, I've got the grass from the Giants championship game win against the Minnesota Vikings. I throw it in my drawer, don't even think about it. Get married, 2005, 5 years later, move in with Nancy. A married man living an hour away from my mom. I get a phone call. My mom says, Donnie, I was just cleaning out your old room, getting rid of some stuff, and I threw out your pot. I said, my pot? She goes, yeah, I saw the bag with the grass in it. Now, I can understand my mom thinking that was marijuana.
Sure.
If it was if it was a sandwich bag full of actual grass. But who smokes pot with confetti in it? Because there's confetti in the grass.
These kids
what
today.
kind of special weed do you buy that's got confetti in it? So I still look fondly at the 2000 season because of the fact that they beat the Eagles, they beat the hell out of the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, embarrassed them. The Giants. Do you realize the Giants had the ball for the final 12 and a half minutes of that game? They went on a 12 and a half minute drive to end the game.
That was like a celebration.
They got embarrassed by the Ravens in the Super Bowl. What? I'm going to throw that back?
Well, let me ask you a question because there's so many doors you leave open with that story. I don't think I've heard the extent of it. Oh, there's the photo of you and T. Look,
you see me in the background? Yeah. Right to the left.
Tiki should have said that Don LaGreca was at the NFC Championship game.
I'm behind the guy that has the receding hairline. So you could see the full, thick LaGreca hair.
So, the sandwich bag. You said sandwich bags?
Yeah.
Like Ziplocs?
Yeah.
So sandwich bags that you use to pick up dog poop.
Yeah, it was perfect. You'd move it inside out on your hand, creating a glove.
Logistics. I know how to pick up the dog poop. My point is that so you have these in surplus in your jacket.
Yeah, like pocket. 2 or 3 of them.
You didn't think to see, hey, what's in my jacket before you're going to cover the NFC Championship game?
No.
Like when you go through security, like to empty your pockets, nothing like that?
No, this was pre 9/11, so you can just, you could have walked in with a machine gun. Nobody would have stopped you.
There could have been an opportunity.
Right.
Then maybe there was like a random dog. It could have been a police canine or something at the stadium. And you were like, at least I got these Ziplocs to be able to pick up whatever deposit comes out.
How appreciative would they have been if they did that?
I don't think it would have enhanced your ability to get close to the podium.
If a dog pooped on that field, it would only improve it.
But there was no actual inventory in your pocket of the dog poop or anything like that.
No, I didn't carry the poop around.
That's what I'm just hoping.
You throw it out. You discard it. You get home. You throw it into the garbage outside. You don't bring it inside. You're not an animal.
Well, the animal's the animal.
How about this? Lonnie in Harlem. You're on ESPN New York. What's up, Lonnie?
Don, Dan, Jacob, Anthony, what's going on?
There you go.
Shout out to the company.
Shout him out. I'm a big company guy.
Loud.
I'm a big company guy.
We're not at the deli, as Dan once said, getting our deli slices. But, yeah, we're here, of course. Shout out to the company, of course, like you guys just said. I honestly just wanted to call in and thank you, Don and Dan, for saying what you just said. Especially you, Don, especially saying that you're a big company guy now. I already know Dan is a huge guy, huge company guy, and all of that. So I honestly just called in to say that. Also, Anthony runs a clean, spectacular ENN as usual. And that's pretty much it.
Don't you think Anthony should try to put in a call to try to get Paul McCartney on the show?
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I think, you guys are big enough to get everybody who you want.
You never know, right? You might say, yeah, why not? I watch Yes.
I don't think he's watching Yes.
Why not? His wife might be a big Yankee fan.
I don't think she's a Yankee fan.
Well,
listen, I think
he's Paul McCartney for crying out loud. You think he's watching Yankee baseball?
Why not?
You guys,
not this season.
You guys got the pull to do whatever you want. So I'm sure if you want Paul McCarthy on the show, you guys can get that.
I was afraid of that.
And,
Lonnie, by the way, this is a big moment. The fact that, Don's back on the company side, that I could be here, and I don't know if I did anything to necessarily broker the peace, but this is
nothing.
This is kind of like a Treaty of Versailles moment, and I'm glad that I could be a part of
it. Dan, listen, Meg Quimby, stop. You on your campaign flow again. You did absolutely nothing to...
Well, I'm here. Well, wait a second. Lonnie, don't you think the politicians, they really do anything? You think they show up for all these parades because they want to be there?
You know what Dan was? Dan was like Don LaGreca behind Tiki Barber in that picture on Fox. Like, that's how much I contributed to the Giants game. That's how much you contributed to me now being a part of the company.
But I'm on good terms with those guys.
You are on very good terms.
You know
what? And it angered me at the time you were, because I thought you'd join me. You chose them. But now
I
it's
didn't know that there was this acrimony going on.
We talk about it all the time. Stop it.
I like how you blame me for whatever issues you were having with them. Like I was the root of it.
No, I didn't say that. I just thought that maybe you'd side with me. But
who says I have to take sides?
Well, that's what friends do, but that's all right. Listen, I don't need...
Joining of a gang? You got to pick one side over the other?
Jed,
Yeah.
Let's go to Dave. He's on 8 Turnpike. You're on ESPN New York. What's up, man? New Jersey Turnpike, I assume, right?
Delaware.
Yes, sir. New Jersey Turnpike.
Cool, man. What exit?
I am about to hit exit 10.
Okay.
Shout out exit 10.
That's the exit I take to get home.
New Brunswick, right? Or is that 9?
No, 18.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Okay, so would you Wednesday, considering all 3 players started at the same time, would you rather have Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, or Mookie Betts for the entirety of the career on your team?
Trout.
Yeah.
Call me when the other two guys win 3 MVPs.
Yeah, I mean, Trout is something special. Now, I know he got hurt this year, and he's never won. He hasn't, been in the playoffs once, and they got swept. But baseball is not football quarterbacks. Yeah, you take Trout. Probably Trout, Judge, Betts is probably where I go. Now, listen, it's tough. You can't go wrong with any of the three.
Betts been a little more durable.
Betts has been durable, and he's also had
Betts
some
is making
bigger
a late charge for another MVP this year, too.
Listen, you can't go wrong with any of the three, but I think we sometimes discard Trout because we don't ever see him because he plays for the Angels, and their games are at 10:30.
And they don't know what
and
they're doing.
And they never play in the postseason.
Right.
But he is unreal.
I told you,
an unreal player.
Don't discount in the offseason either that they field calls for Mike Trout.
No,
especially if Ohtani leaves, you might as well just strip it down and facilitate your rebuild. Try to get a lot for Trout, which you didn't do by not trading Ohtani.
1-800-919-3776. We'll close it out with your calls on Yes and 98.7 ESPN New York. But I need to tell you, this is Don LeGreca.
It should go like day after day. I gotta go.
Deliver your way and on your schedule with DoorDash. And earn more with new and more ways to dash. Now you can dash groceries, alcohol, and even pet supplies. New ways to dash means more ways to enjoy what you do and more ways to get paid. Sign up now to make the most of every dash. DoorDash.
Welcome to the Aura Sleep Lab. You need a bit more deep sleep. Getting enough high-quality sleep increases immunity. Why? Because sleep helps fend off sickness. A good night's sleep boosts your number of infection-fighting antibodies and cells. And with your Aura Ring, you can learn how to sleep deep and keep your immunity up. It's like having a sleep lab on your finger. Go to sleep with auraring.com.
If we weren't proud of the craftsmanship and level of detail that go into every pair of Warby Parker glasses, well, we probably wouldn't show you how they're made, including this part, which is our favorite. Wow. And this is also great. For every pair of glasses or sunglasses sold, a pair of glasses is distributed to someone in need. Try 5 pairs for free at Warby.
Comes the glasses. They offer interchangeable tops to switch out to fit your mood, and because of their super affordable prices, you can get multiple pairs for a fraction of the price. It's super easy to order and have them delivered right to your front door. The only problem I have now is deciding which frames to wear. You know you need an upgrade, so go now and find your new favorite frames with a pair. Multiple pairs for a fraction of the price. It's super easy to order and have them delivered right to your front door. The only problem I have now is deciding which frames to wear. You know you need an upgrade, so go now and find your new favorite frames with a pair.
See everything your restaurant can do with tools from Square. Get a POS that connects to a KDS so you can handle orders ASAP. Reach more customers with online ordering and QR codes. Use pocket-sized hardware so you can turn tables faster. And get one account for everything so you can take care of it all and take it easy, too. Get your all-in-one restaurant system and sign up at square.com today.
With ButcherBox, you never have to worry about what's for dinner. We deliver grass-fed beef, organic free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Get high-quality meat sourced from trusted partners with free shipping always. Join and get free salmon for 3 months. ButcherBox.
Meet Away's iconic suitcases, redesigned. Mix, match, and look good everywhere. More color, more luggage, more travel. Away. Shop at awaytravel.com.
You love. Your road to happiness begins in a new Chevy. Get 1.9% financing on all 2023 Silverado 1500 Crew Cab LT TurboMax pickups, or current Chevy owners get $9,000 total value when you trade in an eligible vehicle. See your local Chevy dealer.
1 in 3 people will have cancer in their lifetime. It might be a parent, a child, a partner, even you. So what does it take to make sure you're in the right hands? It takes MSK.
We specialize in more than 400 different types of cancer, including the most important one, yours. Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, because where you're treated first matters. Call 833-737-0404 or visit msk.org/together.
What does the future of strength look like? It's a personal trainer that assesses your strength and adds weight as you progress. It's dynamic weight that adjusts for you in real time for a more efficient workout. Come on! And it's a roster of coaches that motivates you to get stronger, faster. The future is strength you can feel and results you can see. And you can only experience it on Tonal.
With Home Chef, you're not just home cooking, you're home acing it. Our convenient options are ready in as little as 15 minutes and way quicker than takeout. When it comes to making dinner, fill in the blanks with Home Chef. Delicious, meat simple.
Get 18 free meals when you sign up at homechef.com.
Get your heart pumping with Well Life NYC on the Yes app. Take a tour of the hottest gyms.
I love to have fun when I work out.
And the coolest places to chill around New York.
First, I'm going to be freezing you at negative 200 degrees.
Watch Well Life NYC, streaming now exclusively on the Yes app.
We all smoked in those days. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now.
Defend your family's health and remove the risk. Go to fda.gov/health playbook.
You're watching Yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
Yesterday when I was leaving, Jalen made this for me. It's a little monster with sunglasses on. I don't know if you can see it because she didn't put a tremendous amount of effort into it, but still, she was mad I didn't show it on television yesterday, so I'm showing it now. So.
By the way, bad job out of me. I'm getting called out for it, and
What's
rightfully
that?
so. Remember when we had our previous caller on the Turnpike? I said exit 10. I said New Brunswick, and no, that's exit 9. It's a bad job.
Oh, you know what? That's right. Because I got confused. That's not my exit. My exit into Turnpike is 9. That's 18 in New Brunswick.
Right.
10 is what I take for 287.
Now, to be fair, just to let everybody know that's jumping me here for it, I didn't take the Turnpike much to go there, and I still don't to this day. Route 1, come in the back way through 27, but I don't take the Turnpike. I usually don't have to.
Yeah, I take the Turnpike, 18, and I just whatever that street is to cross Easton Avenue. Rich says Paul is a Mets fan. Has been since the Beatles played Shea Stadium. Anthony should definitely reach out.
Look, I would love it.
And I guess, and then
obviously
everything's great with the company. I guess Lonnie's not a big Beatle fan when he called him Paul McCarthy. So, hey, right. I was under the assumption that everybody knew who Paul McCartney was, but hey, listen, they're not a fan. He's not a fan. But I still think he could reach out. You never know. He does wacky things. Like, he might just think it's kind of funny to do.
He'd be one of the 2 people, probably, on the planet. I don't get starstruck. I don't know if I'd be able to, like, articulate an actual sentence being in the same room with.
I can understand that.
Like, not even close. I don't know what I would do.
I would love Anthony to try. You know, just listen. What did Wayne Gretzky say? Miss every shot you don't take?
Oh,
100% of the shots you don't take.
Michael Scott, by way of Wayne Gretzky. But you didn't watch The Office. Don't laugh at that.
I watched.
No, you didn't. No,
I was late to The Office.
You didn't watch The Office. The last time we talked
about it, you said you didn't watch it. I watched the last couple of seasons.
Those were the worst seasons.
I know, but I didn't hook up until late.
Awful.
No, I agree. Now what do you say when I agree? Now what you got to say?
I got to say
no. You gonna hammer me?
No.
So I admit when I make a mistake. I admit when I drop the ball.
That's like saying, yeah, I didn't. I've seen Rocky. I saw 5. That's basically what you just said.
No, that's fair. Shiv in Houston, you're on ESPN New York. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I just wanted to say shout out to the second to last call crew.
Nice.
I was pretty much calling to say I think that with Hal Steinbrenner maybe potentially seeking counsel here. I think that's his way of maybe cutting ties with Cashman and Boone and not maybe getting blood on his hands since they're part of the family. And I think he's going to wait to see how this year plays out. But I think he's serious about it. Maybe making some changes. He just doesn't want to be the bad guy to do it.
Or
what do you think?
Or could it just be the way of making changes without having to let somebody go? Right? Like, in any other situation, if he wasn't basically almost anything but blood related, he would fire Brian, but feels, I don't want to fire him, but clearly something needs to be done here. Let's bring in other people. Let's bring in a little help. And I don't know how Brian's going to feel about that, because this has been his baby for 25 years. He has been the guy in charge of all the baseball operations. He brings in the coaches. He brings in the manager. He's the one that decided to bring in Brian Sabian, to bring in Omar Minaya. How is he going to react, Dan, to having some other entity come in and start moving things around? Will he accept it and just say, hey, I got 4 years left on my contract. I need some help here. Let's do it. Or is he going to get ticked off, resign, and then there's no blood on Hal's hands?
I think that what you said, there's a distinct possibility. He says, you know what, 25 years is a hell of a run. Maybe it's time for a change of scenery for myself. And maybe he doesn't want to play that type of game. Right? Lou Lamoriello didn't want to play with the Devils when they brought in Ray Shero and made him the president. And then what happened? Brendan Shanahan called and said, hey, Lou, how about come being the GM of my team up here in Toronto? And that's what he did, because he wanted to remain active.
Because that's the thing Michael has been saying. He'll get a job in 5 minutes. Well, then he'll get a job in 5 minutes.
But again, he's under contract for a lot more years, and that also falls
right, but if he resigns, then he resigns.
Right. You got to see what he wants to do. But I'll tell you, once Anthony made that point, when he was reading that story, and Hal made mention of a third party that they're going to bring in, the consultants, to quote the guy in Office Space, Spikowski or whatever his name was, we're all screwed.
What would you say you do here?
Yeah. What would you say? You see, he's quoting Office Space like he saw it 2 days ago.
Yeah, because he did. Now, where do we stand with Slapshot?
I did not get to that. I will try and do it tonight.
I'll give you the 4 day. Yeah, I'll give you take the 4 day weekend. It doesn't have to be tonight.
Okay, we can make that. That's probably easily doable.
Do you have to work Monday?
No.
Nice.
How about that, huh?
We got a baseball game on Monday.
He never gets
the great Yankees-Astros
awesome.
game.
That's right.
I got to wake up early tomorrow morning.
It can't be Yankees-Astros, but it's a great baseball game.
It's an Astro game, I think. It might be. Is it Astros-Rangers?
What, we're airing?
I was hoping Brewers-Pirates.
Stand by.
The great Brewers-Pirates game. Does that drop anywhere, Handy?
Brewers are in first place.
No, but there was a one-time...
Astros-Rangers, that sound right?
Astros-Rangers.
Yeah, because that's a good one. That's
huge.
a battle for first place. You got 3 teams all basically a share of first place.
That's huge.
That was a tough loss for Texas last night.
Chapman doing Chapman things. Chapman was really good this year with Kansas City. Got himself traded.
Because there was no pressure.
There was no pressure. Was pretty good early on with Texas, and now the wear and tear, I think, is starting to get to him a little bit.
All right, let's close out with Louis in Beacon. You're on ESPN New York. What's up, Louis?
Boston, Mass.
Louis.
Yes, I'm here.
What's up, Louis?
Baby? What's happening in Boston, Mass? I need to know.
Yeah, Louis here.
Okay, what do you got?
My mom passed away. Her name was Mary Judith Alvarez. She was a diehard Yankee fan.
My condolences.
My mom was a diehard Yankee fan, all of them.
God bless her.
She passed away yesterday. But she
God
passed
bless,
away
Louis.
being a Yankee fan.
I'm sorry, Louis.
Thank you. But diehard Yankee fan, you guys give her a shout. I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
Well, listen, she's probably watching down from above. And
Mrs. Alvarez.
Our condolences to the family. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough. And obviously, I mean, it's so raw. But, she loved her Yankees. So I'm sure she watched Yes all the time, watched the show. And so giving a shout out.
Dan, this was a fun 4 days.
It was a lot of fun.
Next time you'll hear from Dan will be tomorrow morning with Dave Rothenberg. So he's still going to be here with us. And, of course, starting Tuesday, his show will be on at 6:30 after the Michael K. Show.
That's right.
And it'll be myself and Michael tomorrow. Got lots to talk about. Get his thoughts on this whole third party coming in to possibly help the Yankees. Is that opening the door for a Cashman exit? Is something major brewing with the Yankees? We'll discuss that. Jets and Giants will still be on the table. We'll be less than a week away from the start of the season. Dan, enjoy your night. Great job by Anthony. Jacob, back with you again tomorrow on Yes at 98.7 ESPN New York at 3.
That's a wrap on the show for today. For all of us here on the Michael K. Show, this is Chris Sheeran saying have a great night. We'll see you next time.